Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Malik.
Malik! Oh, how have you been?
Oh, I've been okay. Just been doing a lot of crazy stuff lately.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been around these parts, around our neck of the woods. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, maybe about a year.
Yeah, it's been about a year. Yeah. So, welcome back to the Kongversation co-host chair. It's always lovely to have you.
Always nice to be invited on one of these.
Well, and, it's appropriate because you are the cartoon gamer, and we are going to be talking about a cartoon today. So,
That's true.
I thought it apropos to invite you back. No, we're going to be talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie yet again. So it's the Kongversation, of course, we had our big live 4-hour panel discussion on that we recorded opening weekend about a month ago at this point. And of course, we said quite a bit there. So what is there left to say? Well, I wanted to open the floor to our viewers. It's been a while since we've had a call sack episode where we just purely take listener calls. And we seldom have a themed call sack episode. And I thought it would be a good idea whenever there's a big event like this, like the Super Mario Brothers movie or, in the future, a new Donkey Kong game, to, eventually, like about a month in, circle back and say, hey, now we want to hear all of your thoughts. Now that we've given people more of a chance to see the movie. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers on this episode as well. I know I said I would keep the Kongversation spoiler-free, except for that episode we did, but it will also be this episode. So if you haven't been able to see it yet, if it's not open yet in your country, or if you're just waiting for it to be available digitally or on physical media, whatever your preference, don't listen to this episode yet. If you have avoided spoilers, and I don't know how you've avoided spoilers for a month, considering how willy-nilly everybody's been talking about it on social media and everywhere else. It hasn't really been a closely guarded secret. I'm glad I saw it opening day because it would have been immediate. Like, I was tagged in stuff that evening on social media. DK Vine was tagged and stuff, and every surprise would have been ruined for me. So, but yeah, and I watched your video where you gave your thoughts on this, Malik, and I thought it would be fun to compare notes a little bit. We're obviously going to be taking listener calls, but we'll also be chatting back and forth just between us. Really quick, what did you think of the movie? Like, in general, like, now that we're a month in, like, what are your thoughts? Where have your thoughts settled?
So, my thoughts have settled. So, I was really excited to see the movie, and, I saw it on opening night, like, as I said in my review. I don't do that often for movies, but I think the last time I did that was like with Wreck-It Ralph or something. But I had to go into the movie theaters to see this because it's like, whether it's good or bad, this is Donkey Kong on the big screen, and Mario is there too.
Mario's there too.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you just have to go and see it. And I'm happy to say, of course, that I really enjoyed the movie. Like, it wasn't crazy deep or anything like that, but it was just a fun time, and I would definitely watch it again if it was on TV. I'm really considering getting it on, like, Blu-ray or something. But
sure.
Yeah, I liked it, and I would see it again.
Yeah, like, I gave it a pretty good review with some caveats. I said, basically, it's not a great screenplay, let's be honest. It's pretty superficial. It's mostly something you want to see for the fan service. And that's okay. Like, not everything can be a 5-star cinematic classic. What this is basically appealing to the lizard part of your brain that just wants to see things recontextualized on the big screen. It's like having a tasty dessert, right? It's not really going to provide you any substantive nutrition, but you're still going to enjoy it, until you throw it up later that night. And luckily, I didn't throw this up, so it was. Yes, I have many complaints about a lot of the movie, but the thing I have the fewest complaints about are the Donkey Kong bits, which is wild when you know my history, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that a little bit more, I'm sure, as well. Really quick, before we launch into the calls, you, Malik, you are the cartoon gamer. That is your persona, your pseudonym. And it's what your YouTube channel is also called. And you are in the middle of doing several Donkey Kong videos.
Yes, I am. I call it unofficially, it's called the Kongathon, where I just, I kind of don't like that because it sounds, because Kong and the first thing I'm thinking of is like thong, but it's like what rhymes with Kong? Thong. But yeah, I'm just taking a look at various Donkey Kong games and compiling them into nice little videos. And it seems that it's the last one that I did has really taken off, and I really didn't think it would crack. I don't know, it's at 31K right now.
Wow.
But it's insane. But I'm having so much fun making these Donkey Kong videos. The next video I'm making is not Donkey Kong related, but I am writing the script to the next one. It's still in the cards right now.
I really enjoyed the handheld retrospective of the Donkey Kong Land series, and they're games that don't get a lot of love outside of, well, DK Vine, if we're honest. It's not something that the broader gaming world really discusses. It's not like they're lost media. They were available on the eShop, the Wii U, or the 3DS eShop until that went down, but it's I guess it's currently lost media, but it's I'm a huge fan of them. They were very formative to my own Donkey Kong fandom. Like, I don't think I would be as big of a Donkey Kong fan as I am if I didn't have Donkey Kong Land there, bridging that divide between Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, and really showing you like a deeper, weirder look at the world, and basically, really just like whetting my appetite for more, and really, like, that was really where I started to consider like lore, Donkey Kong lore. I was like, oh, okay, so Big Ape City, that's where the arcade games took place, and Kremlantis implies that the Kremlings had some like wider empire, and I don't know what Chimpanzee Clouds is yet, but I'll keep thinking about it. And
it's whacked out drug trip.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it was just really great to see it from your perspective. I enjoy your stuff, but when you're talking about Donkey Kong, wow, yeah, I quite enjoyed. So be sure you check out Malik's channel, The Cartoon Gamer, on YouTube.
Yeah. Why don't you?
So you're a bigger deal on YouTube than we are. We can't crack that nut, but we are on Twitch, and
you're better on Twitch than I am.
Yeah, we're Twitch affiliates now, so be sure you subscribe to DK Vine on Twitch for all of your DKU streaming content. We stream exclusively DKU content, Malik. I can't stress this enough. We're not going to stream Dead Island 2 or whatever. It has to relate to the DKU and Rare and Platonic. So 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, we're not like always on there, right? Because we're busy with the podcast and the website, and I can only do so much. I'm stretched too thin as it is. But, we do stream, and we have fun, and we're affiliates now, so we're trying to put more effort into it. So, hey, help us out, and we'll help you out, entertainment-wise, that is. Twitch.tv/DKVine. And before we launch into it, I do have to plug our merchandise store. That's right, we're on TeePublic. We're selling t-shirts. We've got a magnet even.
Magnets.
Yeah, we've got a magnet on our merchandise store. We're
single magnet.
It's a Royston magnet, so We've been talking about it for years. We finally launched it back in February, and we have new designs every month. We don't retire our old designs, so, check it out, peruse it. TeePublic's always having sales, so you can get stuff on a discount, like, bi-monthly, pretty much, and they're great. Like, TeePublic's great. Like, I basically took it on blind faith when I decided to do a merchandise store with them, but they ship it out very quickly, and it's always great quality. So I've had no problems with TeePublic, so it's really great to have them. Also make super comfortable t-shirts that just have our nonsense scribbled on them. It's such a great feeling to be wearing one of my t-shirts, and it makes me feel powerful. So if you want to help me feel powerful, be sure you go to dkvine.com/merchandise, or just check us out on TeePublic. All right, Malik.
All right.
Basically, we opened up the floor to our listeners at 1-202-630-VINE. That is the DK Vine hotline, which, by the way, is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can always call it up and leave a message. Whether or not we will play it on a given episode, it depends how on topic it is. When we announce the conversation topic and say, yeah, it's open for calls, that's usually when you can call in. But you can call in whenever, and maybe, if your call doesn't really align with the episode, or you call in too late, we might save it for later, which is actually what we did with the very first call on this episode. This call, they called in, I think, when we were recording the episode, or maybe a little bit after we did the massive 4-hour panel on the Super Mario Brothers movie. And it was opening weekend, and I was like, well, we already did the episode, but I will save this just in case, we circle back around to it. And then I slowly got the idea we should just do an entire callsack episode about the Super Mario Brothers movie, give us another chance to talk about it after some reflection, and, bring in another co-host who wasn't on the panel to get some fresh perspectives. So that's what we did. This call is from opening weekend. Let's go ahead and play it and just start this episode off proper.
All right.
Hey, Hyle, what's going on? This is Bullcraft Max again. I know it's been a little while, but I listen to your podcast literally every single week still. But I haven't called in a little while, so I figured I'd check in about the Mario movie, because the Mario movie was absolutely amazing. And I really wanted to know your thoughts on the potential of this Mario movie sequel, specifically maybe the Donkey Kong standalone movie. I know you've talked about it on other episodes before, but after seeing this with Cranky, with Dixie freaking Kong, I was like losing my mind in the theater over Dixie Kong. Obviously, Diddy was there, and even Chunky. Chunky was there too. So anyway, guys, keep up the amazing work. I love the Mario movie. This was great. And to see the Kongs in action were fantastic. And they even kept the rare timeline with Donkey Kong as the son of Cranky. It was so good. So good. Keep up the good work, guys, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Bullcraft Max. So, Malik, obviously, I think, and granted, I really only circle myself with Donkey Kong fandom. I don't really communicate with anybody else. So I don't really know how this movie's being received outside of the hardcore Donkey Kong universe nerddom. But generally what I'm hearing from my very isolated bubble is that the Donkey Kong stuff is far and away the favorite bits of the movie. I know people like the Jack Black Peaches song or whatever, but the Donkey Kong stuff, I think, is universally held as like the strongest material. It's where the movie feels the most cohesive, where it actually has focus a little bit narratively, and of course, everybody's now talking about the Donkey Kong movie because this was rumored even before the Super Mario Brothers movie opened. I was hearing it from sources that, Illumination and Nintendo, if the Mario movie does well, they want to do a standalone Donkey Kong movie. And the scale of it has fluctuated because we heard different stuff. Maybe it would just be for streaming. Maybe, it would be a little bit lower budget. But I think given the runaway success of this movie, that we're going to see two things. We're going to see the direct sequel, the Super Mario Brothers movie 2, which will focus more on Mario stuff. I don't think Donkey Kong will play much of a role in the actual Super Mario Brothers movie 2. I think what they'll probably do is they might have him for a short scene to just say, like, yeah, there's Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But now we're going to send him on his way. Goodbye. And I think they're going to really just take the Donkey Kong stuff and put it all into the Donkey Kong movie.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, there would be a part of me that would be a little upset that Donkey Kong doesn't get as much screen time in a Mario sequel. But again, if we're getting a Donkey Kong Country movie out of this, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I would still like them to acknowledge that Donkey Kong is part of that series of movies. But I really do think that they could probably just branch off and do various films like at the same time, because I think Illumination has done that before. Yeah, they do that a lot.
When we know that they want to do more Nintendo movies beyond just Super Mario Brothers, and I do think part of the thinking for putting Donkey Kong in this movie was this will help us sell a Donkey Kong movie down the line. We're basically reintroducing the character to the general public. And
yeah,
I mean, especially to little kids who have never grown up with a Donkey Kong game, because Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was announced 10 years ago this June. So it really does, like, as much as I don't like having Donkey Kong linked so heavily with Mario, this is a really great way, if you're going to start this whole relaunch of the Donkey Kong IP, having it be this Trojan horse in the Super Mario Brothers movie is a brilliant way to do it. I mean, I don't feel proud about it, but I'm going to happily lap up the rewards that befalls our fandom from it.
Yeah, it's like some Avengers type stuff, except like I don't think they're legally allowed to make a Hulk movie, but
no. But yeah, I think that what we're going to see is maybe, so I don't know how familiar you are with Star Trek, Malik.
Not at all.
Okay, then I will explain it to you. So in the J.J. Abrams reboot Star Trek movies with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and Zoe Saldana, they basically set those up by having the original Spock, Leonard Nimoy, time travel back into the past and create a split timeline. So basically they linked it to the original Star Trek and said, no, that's still canon, but now we've done this time travel alternate universe thing where we can have a sort of reboot of the original 1960s series, but it can still have that link to the original. Nothing is rendered invalid. There's no separate continuities. It's just a different timeline. Anyway, so the first movie, they set that all up with the old Spock going back in time, played by Leonard Nimoy. So when they did the second movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, Into Darkness, they did have old Spock there for like a 30-second scene where he basically Zoom called into the Enterprise and said, Benedict Cumberbatch is a bad man, stay away. And I think we'll see, maybe not something that perfunctory, but I do think we'll see something like maybe Donkey Kong is just on the telephone or something. And, just to establish that, hey, here's Donkey Kong. We haven't forgotten about him, but really this story isn't about him anymore. He's going off on his own adventures with his friends and family. This is the extent you're going to see him in this movie. So I think it's just going to be there to kind of tick off that box, but I don't think... Yeah. I don't think Donkey Kong, I could be wrong because I didn't think Donkey Kong was going to play such a massive role in this movie that he did.
I know.
When they announced Seth Rogen was voicing Donkey Kong and Fred Armisen was voicing Cranky Kong, I thought the Cranky stuff was going to be basically like this origin sequence because they announced Fred Armisen's Cranky alongside Kamek and Foreman Spike. So I thought we were going to have this big like origin sequence with Yoshi's Island and Donkey Kong Arcade and Wrecking Crew. And then Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong would be this minor element to tie back to that and maybe set up a Donkey Kong movie. I didn't realize that like a third of the movie was just going to be Donkey Kong, which has really helped our franchise, the amount of interest there is in Donkey Kong right now is more than there has been, honestly, Malik, since the Rare years.
Yeah, I feel that too.
I don't want to. I don't want to pretend like Donkey Kong Country Returns wasn't a big deal because it was, but I think Donkey Kong Country Returns and then much more obviously Tropical Freeze, they appealed to the fans who were there the first time around. They made new fans for sure, but I think given how hard and difficult those games were, they didn't really do much to connect to the younger crowd in the same way that Donkey Kong Country connected to us back in 1994 or Donkey Kong 64 connected to people in 1999. I think that what this movie has done is it's made Donkey Kong exciting to the kids again.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because, I mean, after I was watching, like literally after I was done watching the movie, I just periodically looked at my Donkey Kong Country video and it went up like 1,000 views.
Wow.
Within when I was watching the film. It's like, am I freaking out? Am I stroking out right now? Is this actually happening?
Yeah, so
what's going on?
In the last month, not to like talk numbers, talk shop, compare sizes or anything, but the Kongversation has doubled its audience in the last month.
Wow, that's awesome.
And just our interactions across the board, everything DK Vine, we've got way more followers, much more of an audience. People are seeking out Donkey Kong. They want to know about Donkey Kong and the history of Donkey Kong Country. So yeah, this movie has really done its job, and of course it's going to lead to a Donkey Kong movie. Knowing where Miyamoto and Nintendo want to take Donkey Kong, it's going to lead to a Donkey Kong movie. So I don't think there's any question about that. We're going to get a DK movie, and we'll probably get a small appearance by DK in the actual Mario movie sequel, but it just won't be this big deal. Like, I don't think you're going to go to the Jungle Kingdom, or you're going to have this this huge, like, middle part of the movie centering out Donkey Kong again. He might be there near the beginning. He might show up near the end. It might be an end credits thing even. But he'll be there probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the call, Bullcraft Max. I could also, if I hadn't known you called in opening weekend, I could tell just by the excited thrill in your voice that you had just seen it, that you just gotten out of the theater.
Heck yeah.
I was a little frazzled when I left the theater just because it was a lot for me to go, like, be in a packed theater full of children. I hadn't experienced that since I myself was a kid, and I saw, I don't know what kids movie I saw when I was, maybe it was like The Phantom Menace or something, but I was like, oh, I need to breathe, but I was still really jazzed, and it was just this surreal kind of dopiness that I was in, where I was just like, I just saw Donkey Kong on the big screen. I just saw Diddy, Dixie, and Chunky all sitting in the crowd together. It was cool.
I know, it was so great.
All right. Well, we have like 10 more calls to play. So why don't we keep them coming? We'll keep them coming with call number 2.
Hello, I am the Mystery Man, and I am calling to talk about the Mario movie. First, Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. He was not perfect. He did not sound very old or very cranky. I feel like they could have gotten someone like Mel Brooks to play him instead. Also, the music. I know a lot of people were upset about them replacing replacing a beautiful musical tribute to DKC with Aha's Take On Me, but I feel like we lucked out in that regard, getting a classic 80s pop song. We could have gotten something like The Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, for goodness sake. And also, I know a lot of people are excited about the possibility of a Donkey Kong movie coming after this, but two things. One, who would play King K. Rool? For some reason, Keith David comes to mind for me. I don't know. I guess his role in Disney's Amphibians did it for me. And also, have you ever considered the possibility of a new Donkey Kong cartoon instead? I don't know. It just seems like DK in this new world they set up would be better suited to a cartoon. So, yeah, that's about everything I wanted to say off the top of my head. Also, Lego King K. Rool or we riot. This is the Mystery Man saying goodbye.
Thank you.
Was that Kermit the Frog?
I think that was AI generated Kermit the Frog. I think AI has finally crossed the Rubicon, and it is now just developed such independence that it's calling into DK Vine's The Kongversation podcast as Kermit the Frog to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Thank you. I think. So Malik, let's talk about the pop music, and I think this is going to be a reoccurring topic throughout our calls.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some, we had our complaints about it on our previous panel episode, and obviously a lot of people are upset with Aha Take On Me replacing that beautiful like medley of Donkey Kong country music that was supposed to be in the movie.
Oh, I mean, gosh, I'm gonna tell you right now. Like again, I said in my review that I really didn't mind it because I like Take On Me, and it was kind of mystical hearing it in that context.
Yeah.
And every time I hear Take On Me now, like you said in the panel that you guys did, the 4-hour thing, when the guy goes, "I'll be gone," if you're really not paying attention, it kind of sounds like Donkey Kong, and
right.
I'm just gonna keep doing that for the rest of my life.
It's like Tropical Freeze, like on the Wii U. You know, they took that little bit from Grassland Groove, and they made it the startup music, the Donkey Kong, and it kind of just sounds like Aha doing their own version of that.
You have ruined the song for me. Actually, you've enhanced the song for me for the rest of my life, so I thank you for that. But it's sort of a blessing in disguise, because if I heard that in the theater, if I heard the song, the Driving Me Bananas it's called, if I heard that in the theater, I think I would have just lost all control of like my bodily functions and everything else. Well, I would have freaked if I heard that on
So I was not expecting an emotional response. And as I said, when we got that brief little whiff, that little motif of DK Island Swing on when they were approaching the gate to the Jungle Kingdom, I teared up. And so if we were going to get the full thing, the full Monty with Driving Me Bananas, then I would have probably started sobbing uncontrollably, which would not have been a good look for a grown man sitting in a theater full of children and their respective parental guardians. So dodged a bullet there. But I'm of two minds about it, because I was fine with Take On Me, because like I said, it's actually somewhat of an appropriate song for the Kongs, for visiting Kong civilization. Just this weird kind of like 80s MTV Miami Vice vibe, which I think fits the Kongs and what they're about. They're like a little retro. They're a little like, but they're still like far and away advanced for an ape and monkey civilization. So and there's that little like sports coat wearing Don Johnson swagger to it all. I'm glad that they went there with Donkey Kong and they didn't just portray it like Donkey Kong, funny monkey, ha ha ha. She's stupid.
Banana peels everywhere.
Yeah, like farting ape. Stinky Gorilla. Like, we actually got something resembling the actual portrayal of the Kongs in the games, where they're just people. They're just people who happen to be furry.
Mm-hmm. I loved how the place was like built on water, like various. I can't think of any nations that do that, but I've seen that a lot in media, and it's always so cool to see. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, so cool. I liked the look of it. It was like a nice blend of the retro era Donkey Kong Country, but also just a new perspective on it. Because I think like that's my problem with the Donkey Kong Country cartoon, or it was my problem when I was a kid. It was that it got too close to the source material, but it changed just enough that it ruined it for me, Malik. And this felt different enough that it was clearly a different take on it, but it got the emotional truths right. It got the relationship between Donkey and Cranky spot on. And that was really what made it work. Because the cartoon, well, it got a lot of superficial stuff right. For me, it never really... The relationship between the characters never really rang true for me. I know we didn't see Donkey and Diddy interact in this. But... Like in the cartoon, it always just felt like, to me, it was portrayed like in a sitcom where everybody was antagonistic towards each other, and I never really felt a lot of love for anybody. And this, I got that between Donkey and Cranky. It was exactly their video game relationship. Like, from what's literally portrayed in the games up until, like, my headcanon of how they actually feel about each other. And that blew me away. I wasn't expecting such a faithful recreation of that. And that's why everything else, all the inconsistencies, like Jungle Kingdom, no Donkey Kong Island, such closeness to the Mushroom Kingdom and world, didn't matter because they got Donkey and Cranky right.
Yeah, like the minute DK comes out and he's like, "Hi, Dad," and Craig is like, "No," and he's like, "Dad, wave back." I was that got a really genuine laugh out of me. He's like, "Oh my goodness, it's Donkey Kong!"
And like Donkey Kong is, like I said, more of a himbo than he maybe is portrayed in some of the games, but it worked. Like the take worked. I know Kermit here didn't like. Apologies, caller. We're gonna call you Kermit. But I know Kermit didn't like Fred Armisen as Cranky. It wasn't my preferred take on Cranky, but I think the more I think about it, Bernie Sanders' Cranky Kong is kind of brilliant in its own way.
Bernie Kong.
Yeah, because like Bernie Sanders is a cantankerous old man who will wave his finger at you, like wag it at you, and admonish you, but like... He's got heart behind all of that, and he fights for justice, and that's Cranky Kong. I mean, that's Cranky Kong. I would have liked Cranky Kong to be a little bit more snarky, a little bit, but like he was less cranky and more of just a temporary obstacle towards, getting what they wanted, which was a Kong army. And even the Kong army didn't really do anything. But it's just a way to get Donkey Kong into the climax of the story. But I'm okay with Fred Armisen's take.
Yeah, me too. He's in my good books.
Like I think that's the thing that I've settled on the most after a month of reflection is, you know what? I do like Bernie Sanders' Cranky Kong. I think that's a kind of fresh, almost ingenious way to recontextualize the character in 2023. Yeah.
I think so.
Especially when you can't reference all the stuff that Cranky Kong is known for, which is critiquing the state of modern gaming.
That's true.
Like, you can't have him, like, critique, in my day, we didn't have animated...
We just had a 3-frame walk, and we were okay with that.
Well, no, because in this context, it would be, in my day, we didn't have animated children's movies full of 80s pop songs and celebrity casting. We had professional voice actors and original compositions throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, that didn't happen till like 2001.
Yeah. But you can't really do that with Cranky because he's a video game character. This is his first movie. I know he was in like Pixels or whatever with Adam Sandler, but
that doesn't count.
We're not going to talk about
We're
that.
not counting that.
All right. Well, thank you, Kermit. Good luck on.
Thank you, Kermit.
Good luck on the. Is there a new Muppet show?
Yes, but it's focused on the Electric Mayhem. I don't think Kermit is in it.
All right. Well, better luck next year, Kermit. All right.
Yeah.
Let's play our next call.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to know, like, where was K. Rool? You know, I wanted to see his oiled up crocodile ass in that movie, and we just didn't get it. You know, want to hear y'all's thoughts. All right, see ya.
Malik, welcome to the Kongversation.
I haven't heard a call like that in some time. It's almost nostalgic.
So yeah, this is something that I've been getting a read on from some segments of the fandom for the last month. Not the oiled up crocodile ass part, but the just the lack of K. Rool or the Kremlins in general in this movie. Like, oh, we saw Chunky Kong, we saw Swanky Kong, we couldn't see K. Rool. And here's the thing. You don't want to confuse your movie. And you don't want to waste all of your Donkey Kong stuff in something that's not the Donkey Kong movie. This was all about sort of providing an appetizer for Donkey Kong and establishing Donkey Kong and, in this case, his relationship to Cranky Kong. And yes, like, putting Diddy in there has made me like a glimpse of what's to come. Here's Diddy, there's Dixie, there's Chunky, but you don't want to then get into, and the Kongs have this big problem with this rival nation, the Kremlins, because that confuses what's going on with the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser. And you know what? Save all of that for the Donkey Kong movie. It doesn't need to come into here. And really, honestly, like, K. Rool has never had much of a relationship with the Mario cast. I know he was in Mario Super Sluggers, but K. Rool is a Donkey Kong antagonist. First and foremost, Donkey and Cranky both have history with Mario, be it the original arcade games or through things like Mario Kart and Mario Party and so on. K. Rool doesn't really have that, and really shouldn't have that, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm completely fine that we didn't get deeper into Donkey Kong's world than we did. It was still very surprising that we got as much as we did.
Yeah, like I'm totally okay with what we got. I think it was just maybe just a smidge more of Diddy and Chunky, but then I think I'm just getting greedy at that point.
Yeah, and if you got more of them, if you got more Diddy, then you would have to cast Diddy. And I'm sure they didn't want to go down that road yet. Like whoever did voice Diddy, I forget their name already, but
might have been Eric Bauza, maybe not.
Yeah, but they probably were like, well, when we do cast a Donkey Kong movie, we want a big name voicing Diddy, so let's just have it be a small little shouting cameo in the crowd, acknowledge him, leave it at that, a little taste for the future.
Yeah.
Which, again, is more than I thought we'd get. Like, once upon a time, I did not think Diddy would be in this, let alone get name-dropped in this. So, will K. Rool be in the Donkey Kong movie? You know, maybe.
Maybe there'll be a picture on the wall.
Well, like, I could see them going for something completely different with the Donkey Kong movie, honestly, because K. Rool might be too close to Bowser for the, like, immediate follow-up Donkey Kong-wise to the Super Mario Brothers movie. So I could see them going with something like Tiki Tong, honestly.
I was going to say, we'll get Kalimba as the main villain.
I know that would be controversial, but we know Tiki Tong's going to have a role in the Universal Park. He's going to be part of the minecart coaster, which was in plans before they brought K. Rool back with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, like, K. Rool's future is secure. I would not worry about that, but I could see them saving K. Rool for, like, the Donkey Kong movie too. or like he'd be in the end credits teaser or whatever. Like, he might not be the villain of the movie. I haven't heard anything, obviously. I don't really have that many sources vis-a-vis Universal Illumination, but I have not heard any rumors one way or another. I just, I think K. Rool's future is secure at the very least. He is Donkey Kong's main antagonist, but do you want to go down that route for the sequel, or do you want to try something else to differentiate it from the Mario movie? I don't know. But K. Rool will be in a movie eventually, for sure.
Yeah, it's like how Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, Joker didn't show up until the second movie, and Joker was like the main man.
Yeah, you gotta prolong the gratification sometimes. Like, everybody wanted the Joker, and it's like, no, here's Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul. And
it's like, okay, cool.
He's like, who? Most people were like, who the hell is Ra's al Ghul? But, and then you got the little Joker card at the end, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, that's how you keep your audience.
Yeah. And then The Dark Knight was like the biggest movie of 2008, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so thank you for the call, oiled up K. Rool ass aficionado.
That's your name now.
Let's go and play the next call.
Hey Hyle, hey Malik, this is Traveler of the Stars here, calling about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I must confess, Hyle, that I grew up a Mario fan and I still love Mario dearly, even though he did torture Cranky Kong. I do apologize. But no, I wanted, when I entered the movie, even though I'm a massive Mario fan, I didn't want to just like it because it was chock full references, just because I recognized the thing I like, and I went in the movie, not thinking it's going to be the next Citizen Kane. I was like, alright, is it entertaining? Is it fun? Is it not cringy? And, I'd say it executed all those fronts. On all the fronts. On the topic of Donkey Kong, and I guess the movie in general, I am so happy there was no toilet humor. There were no fart jokes. And I don't know about you guys, but when, or I was assuming I can cover spoilers, but spoiler alert, when Mario and Donkey Kong fall off, like Rainbow Road, and they're in the water, and there's the unagi eel, like, beneath them, and there's, like, rumbling, and they're in the water, and I thought for sure Mario was going to ask Donkey Kong, like, oh, did you fart? And then Donkey Kong, was like, no, and then make a fart joke, and then I'd die inside. But no, that didn't happen. Obviously not every joke was a banger, but I thought most of, like, the humor and the writing was pretty tasteful, and that's how I describe the movie. It was tasteful, and I think, in the end, it executed beautifully what it needed to do. Be entertaining, even if, it could have been a little longer. But on the topic of, tasteful writing, I was not someone, even as a massive Mario fan, I wasn't dunking on Chris Pratt or anything, it was whatever. And same with Seth Rogen, I thought they'd be fine. But honestly, they had my favorite chemistry in the movie. I don't know, I really liked it, because, you don't usually see characters ribbing with Mario. I mean, obviously, like, Wario and Bowser have rivalry with Mario, but Mario doesn't usually banter. Even in RPG games, like, other characters banter for him, like Beepo and Mario plus Rabbids and, so on and so forth. So, I don't know, I just really liked it. I guess the only thing that I would say is I am wondering how they'll shake up the world map, or how they'll divvy that up, because, like, obviously, in the games, it's pretty likely, Donkey Kong and Mario are separate universes, but in this movie, or in this universe, like, they're in the same world. So, if a Donkey Kong movie, I'd be interested in how, like, if they completely keep Mario separate, which I imagine they would, I would just be interested in kind of how, King K. Rool and the Kremlins would just tie into this world, because it's definitely, like, not an entirely separate world, so I don't know. Just be interesting to see what you guys think about that. Anyway, I'll be interested in hearing what you guys think. See ya.
Well, thank you for the call, Traveler of the Stars. So, yeah, look, we already said, like, no fart jokes, and Traveler agrees.
Yeah. I will say, if Donkey Kong did say it like how Travelers of the Stars did, if Mario just went, dude, did you fart? No. I think I would laugh.
Right, like, you could make that funny, like, dude, did you fart? Oh, you think just because I'm a gorilla, I farted? Like, no, I'm civilized, dude. Like, I don't fart in front of... I don't fart in front of people I don't know, let alone people I do know. Yeah, I really, really liked the chemistry between Mario and Donkey Kong because we've never really seen them banter. We've never, I mean, we don't really see Mario talking with people too often, let alone Donkey Kong. And they pretty much got it exactly the way it would be in my head as far as how they should engage with each other.
Yeah, like a real Popeye Bluto thing.
Not even that antagonistic. They're more just frenemies at a certain point where there's always this rivalry between them, a little competitiveness, and
yeah, sometimes they can be friends, but most of the time you see them beating the crap out of each other. But,
but like I think that's mostly an artifact of Donkey Kong being considered a Mario antagonist, but then come Donkey Kong Country, you have the recontextualization of the Kongs as heroes. And
yes,
then when they brought Donkey Kong back into play with the Mario cast, with Mario Kart 64, you could see in the artwork and stuff for the game, he was still considered an antagonist to Mario, and that kind of continued. But then you bring in Diddy into some of the games, and well, you can't really have Donkey Kong be an antagonist when Diddy's around. That's Cameron's theory on Donkey Kong and how he's portrayed is if you have Diddy Kong around, Donkey Kong cannot come across as a villain. You just can't do it. So over time, we've seen that kind of softening, even despite, the decade plus of Mario versus Donkey Kong games. You would have Donkey Kong and Mario's relationship kind of thaw, and then even stuff like Mario Party 5 onward, you would have Donkey Kong portrayed as the heroic counterpart to Bowser in those games. So yeah, I think that like the way they should be interacting with each other is there's always this maybe edge to their relationship. They're not best buddies, but they can get along because at the end of the day, they're both heroes. They just don't have that like perfect chemistry where they're like having beers together or like just like watching the big game. They're more friendly associates who maybe would get on each other's nerves if they had to spend more time with each other than they do.
Yeah, they eat potato chips in separate bowls.
That's good. That's good. I'll have to remember that. Like I said, one of my favorite lines from the movie, maybe my favorite line, considering how much I've remembered it, is just Donkey Kong rolling up to Mario and saying, "I hate you."
I feel the same way sometimes when I see Mario. I'm glad it was finally put on the big screen.
It was great, and again, they didn't like Flanderize Donkey Kong to build up Mario, which was my big worry, right?
Yeah,
they didn't make Donkey Kong just an overt buffoon to make Mario look better. Mario, I really liked Mario in this movie. He was an everyman again. He was somebody you could root for. He was an underdog and not just the best at everything he does.
Yeah, always smiling and whatnot. No, this Mario gets the ever-loving tar pounded out of him. And I loved it.
To get to Traveler's other point there, yeah, I have concerns. I admit I have concerns about the way they established the Jungle Kingdom and how that will relate to a Donkey Kong movie. I think it worked fine for the Mario movie, but I think it almost limits what you can do with Donkey Kong and his world going into an actual Donkey Kong movie, because so much of the Donkey Kong mythology is centered around the Kongs living on an island and interacting with other islands in that archipelago. I'm not even getting into Banjo and Conquer here, Malik. Don't worry. I'm talking about Kremlins. I'm talking about snowmats. And like I like having a landlocked jungle kingdom. Yeah, you can just say like, oh, the Kremlins live nearby in the jungle and whatever, but it does worry me a little bit because there is so much you can build off of this expanse of ocean. And even seafaring just plays such a large role in Donkey Kong mythology. And so I'm a little bit leery, and I'm like, in the Donkey Kong movie, do we just want to have them move to an island and have that be Donkey Kong Island? Like, one of our theories was that, maybe the apes and monkeys in the Jungle Kingdom aren't actually native to the Jungle Kingdom. Like, they were escaped primates from the zoo or something in Brooklyn, and they fell through the same warp pipe that Mario and Luigi did and arrived there years earlier or something, and that turned out to be completely false. But I do have to wonder if they will keep them in the Jungle Kingdom, or if they'll like establish Donkey Kong Island in the sequel, or the actual Donkey Kong movie, I should say.
Now, a theory I just came up with on the spot is what if they go, like, in a potential Donkey Kong movie, there's, like, a sewage system underneath the Jungle Kingdom, and there's just another pipe that leads to, like, Donkey Kong Island.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now this takes us to the Rare Archipelago, a completely separate dimension from the Mushroom Kingdom. It just keeps going.
Keeps going.
Yeah,
just more separate dimensions in various sewage systems.
And then, yeah, that sets up Hyrule, the land of Hyrule, for this.
Oh, I like that.
I think they're gonna want to keep the options on the table to keep Donkey Kong and Mario like interactable, but yeah, like you don't want to have Mario all up in your Donkey Kong movie. So, and I could see them even having a small appearance by Mario near the beginning just to set it up further. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like I was surprised at how little the Jungle Kingdom bothered me in this movie. When we get to a Donkey Kong movie, it might be a Donkey Kong Country's cartoon situation where it's a bridge too far for me, and I have a problem with it then. But for the Mario movie, it was fine. All right. Thank you for the call, Traveler of the Stars. Let's play our next one.
Hi. Since you wanted opinions on the Mario movie, I just wanted to say I am probably one of the only people who actually preferred Chris Pratt's Mario over Charlie Day's Luigi. I thought he did a better job, and I am really excited for a hypothetical Donkey Kong Country movie to happen, as I think we all are, and I would very much like to hear your opinions on the hypothetical celebrity casting of said DK Country movie down to every last potential Kong and Kremling. DK says trans rights, goodbye.
Well, thank you for the call. I don't know if we're going to get to every last Kong and Kremling, but maybe the Brothers Bear and some Banana Birds and
some Banana Birds,
Schroffscoff and Professor Chops. But yeah, I thought like Chris Pratt, surprisingly, I mean, maybe not surprisingly, everybody rags on Chris Pratt for reasons that are well understood, but I think he's a fine actor. He brings a certain quality to the roles, which is why he is a go-to actor in Hollywood right now. And I thought it was, like, I understood what they were going for when they cast Chris Pratt as Mario. I was like, okay. And it made me optimistic, honestly, for the way they were going to portray Mario in this movie. It's like they're hearkening back to the way Mario used to be portrayed once upon a time. And yeah, I thought he did a great job. I have no qualms about that. You know, Charlie Day, I'm a big fan of Charlie Day, and he's Charlie Day. I mean, in every role, he is just Charlie Day. He maybe dials it up a little bit or dials it down, but yeah, it was a different take on Luigi, but I thought that nervous energy, you know, does work for the character. I know our own Jeff was upset because he always fan cast Diddy with Charlie Day, and I could see that. Like, that would be pretty neat casting for Diddy, but we're not going to get that now. Yeah, but Malik, I know you had some thoughts on the Donkey Kong movie casting in your Mario movie review.
Let's see. So I know I said specifically for Dixie Kong, I would want Kristen Schaal She has been. You familiar with Kristen Shaw?
Yeah. I'm familiar with her roles on various comedies like 30 Rock, and she was also a Daily Show correspondent back in the tail end of the Jon Stewart era.
Yeah, I think her voice fits like perfectly for something like Dixie Kong, like very sweet and bubbly, but I can also imagine Dixie having a little bit of a manic side to her as well. Like she does manic very well. There's like a thing, I have an idea in my head where I just want to take some like Kristen Shaw, various little thingies and just draw some storyboard ideas to it. I think that'd be really cool, but that is my take for Dixie Kong. Or like I also said, something completely like a complete 180, maybe something like Natasha Lyonne, where Dixie just sounds like a chain smoker. Because that would be say, "Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Diddy? We gotta go get the banana horde."
That should be the take on Wrinkly Kong. So then we know how she dies. Yeah.
But I don't know. For other characters, earlier I thought maybe Kevin Hart is Diddy Kong because they're short, haha. I don't know, but
I don't know. Like Diddy, like you would almost want a Tom Holland type. I think where you have this like perpetual youthness, this eagerness to please a mentor, which is just what Tom Holland does, and
oh yeah,
I could see that. I've long fan casted Will Arnett as Swanky Kong, and I still think that's my preferred take. But I've also heard people bandied about Bob Odenkirk as Swanky, and I could see that too. I think that's an acceptable alternative as well. You just want a layer of sleaze for Swanky Kong.
Yeah.
What about K. Rool? I know a lot of people have opinions on K. Rool. Some of it informed by the cartoon portrayal. What do you think about K. Rool?
Man, well, let's just say, because I would want for K. Rool, I can only imagine the guy who played him in the TV show, Ben Campbell, because he was just I think he was fantastic. He is the king, but. I mean, who else has like a Shakespearean kind of energy to them? I can't think of any. I don't know celebrities too well.
Wait, you know cartoon voice actors, so that gets you.
I know cartoon voice actors.
I'm gonna say, and this is something I've already shared in the past. Andy Serkis as K. Rool.
Ooh, I kind of like that
because he can bring multitudes to any performance. He can do crazy with nuance, and I got that in my head when I think like, and you know, most people know Andy Serkis from his motion capture work as Gollum or Caesar in Planet of the Apes trilogy, the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, but
yeah.
I think what really sold me on him as K. Rool was when I saw him in Black Panther and his role as Claw in that movie, and it's just that to me that could have been K. Rool, just the level of like unhinged giddiness where he is just like something snapped a long time ago, but he's enjoying it, and yeah, so that's my pick for K. Rool, but As far as anybody else, like, the thing is, like, I would have never casted Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, but it's grown on me in the last month. So I'm sure they will have picks where people will be like, what? Ew! Like everybody was with Chris Pratt.
Ew!
But then you're like, okay, I see what they're going for within the context of this interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
And it's never like Chris Pratt's never going to replace Charles Martinet as people's Mario. Like in the games, they're not just going to like say like, oh, he sounds like Chris Pratt now. Deal with it. So
he's so cool.
None of this really matters, right? Like as far as it's good because it gets exposure to these characters and brings people back into the games. And then people aren't going to be thinking, oh, yeah, why doesn't Cranky Kong sound like Bernie Sanders here? He sounds like Bernie Sanders. It's just, oh, this is Cranky Kong in the video games. Maybe he doesn't sound like Bernie Sanders. So I'm fine having these alternate takes. They don't have to be the definitive versions of these. They're just kind of, just a trip. It's just a trip seeing some of these characters on the big screen being portrayed by well-known Hollywood quantities, right?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I can't wait to see like the cast list in a future Nintendo Direct for a Donkey Kong Direct for like the movie and all the celebrities. And
yeah,
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah,
it'll be awesome.
Well, thank you for the call. And yes, Donkey Kong does say trans rights. All right, we are going to play call number 6. Let's go.
Hey guys, this is Boom Shackle, and I saw you guys were talking about the Mario movie again. And, I mean, I have my problems with it, but overall I really, really enjoyed it. So my question to you guys is, well, I mean, a big controversy with this movie, both, I should say, issue people have with this movie is the pop songs, which I'll admit kind of got to me a little bit. But how would you feel if instead of Take On Me, or maybe even when they get to the DKC movie, they pick songs that were in Donkey Konga instead? Oh yeah, I'm talking Right Here, Right Now. I'm talking Scene, Scene, Scene. I'm talking maybe even some All-Star La Bamba. Well, I mean, that's just my idea. It's not going to happen. But, I mean, it should. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Boom Shackle. Malik.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just being called on to make the Donkey Kong movie. Like, talk it out for Illumination. Because we're casting it. We're picking the songs for it.
Well, let's see. We'd have to put Jungle Boogie and By Kool and the Gang in there, right?
Oh, that would, oh yeah. Like, knowing the way Illumination ticks, that would definitely be, like, you gotta have the low-hanging fruit, right?
Literal low-hanging, like, no walnuts, peanuts, pineapple smells up in here. Like, what fruit hangs low?
Bananas, I guess? I don't know.
Potatoes aren't considered fruit.
No, you're just stuck on potatoes right now.
I had potatoes earlier.
I could go for a nice potato right now, honestly. It's been a while. I've been thinking about this because, you know, we at DK Vine, we are music fans as well as Donkey Kong fans. And, you know, honestly, I know they were joking, but I could see a couple Donkey Konga songs in the mix.
Do you think they would know they were also used in Donkey Kong?
No, but there are maybe one or two Donkey Konga songs that actually do fit Donkey Kong. La Bamba is one of them. Maybe Oyo Como Va by Santana. That kind of fits the vibe of Donkey Kong. But yeah, like Jungle Boogie is definitely a song they would pick. I already suggested Jungle Love by the Steve Miller Band. Got some other suggestions here, by the way, to fit the tone of Donkey Kong. They're not all jungle related. Like, I'm not going to say Bungle in the Jungle by Jethro Tull or Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. Like, it doesn't have to all be jungle themed, but they would probably go to Welcome to the Jungle for sure.
Oh yeah, for all the trailers. I can see it right now.
Oh yeah, like we were so dead certain, especially Cameron, that Van Halen's Jump was going to factor into it. And it almost did. Come to find out, they were going to play Jump in the final climactic sequence when they get the superstar, but they were talked out of it by the composer. Just like, no, let's
Where'd you see that?
Oh, it was a news story a week or two ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was going to be Van Halen's Jump in there, but they were talked off that ledge. So yeah, I think Welcome to the Jungle would be the big obvious thing for the Donkey Kong movie. Maybe the trailer, but maybe like the first sequence when you pan into the jungle, like Welcome to the Jungle. However, I have some other suggestions. Maybe a little bit more Baroque, obscure suggestions. Not Baroque as far as the classical music. I mean, just like, okay.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The Donkey Kong movie.
That would also work. Just go high class with it.
It's Friday.
So just pulling from the same era of music they pulled from for the Super Mario Brothers movie. Thunder Island by Jay Ferguson. I
don't know what that song is.
You're probably not familiar with it. It's it just starts off sha la 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 my lady, and it just goes from there. But it's called Thunder Island. I think it would work. Escape, the Pina Colada song by Rupert Holmes. And Working for the Weekend by Loverboy.
I think I would like that. That sounds good.
I've always wanted that for a Donkey Kong trailer.
Like he's riding on Rambi, just you hear that.
Or just Funky Kong, like chilling on the beach, or like I don't know. Like I think Working for the Weekend sums up the ethos of the Donkey Kong bunch to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
My only other suggestion that I think might find their way into this is Any Way You Want It by Journey. I don't know why. I could see like the sequence where Donkey Kong like wakes up in bed and that song starts playing and he just like starts swinging on vines through the jungle. Those are my suggestions.
I like that. I wish I had more. Most of my suggestions are just like old weird songs that nobody has ever heard about from like the 50s. But
nobody's heard. Okay, I guarantee you. Aside from Jeff Onan, who might be listening to this right now, nobody listening to the conversation has heard Thunder Island by Jay Ferguson.
It's never played on the radio.
No.
Oh.
it might play on like Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville on Sirius XM, but besides that, yeah, you don't really hear it anymore.
Huh. I'll give it a listen after this.
But you have to listen to it. Just imagine it in a Donkey Kong movie.
Duly noted.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go ahead and play our next call.
Hello, my name is Ryan. I've been listening to the conversation for maybe the past 2 years now, and I'm a big fan of the idea. I saw the tweet about the Mario movie stuff, and I want to say that I'm very surprised with how deep they actually went with all the Donkey Kong stuff, to the point where, at least in the circles that I inhabit on the internet, people are very, very confident that Illumination is going to be doing a Donkey Kong movie, myself included. And one thing that I see everybody talking about is what we want to see from a Donkey Kong movie, but I'm more curious about what we all think Nintendo would let us see in a Donkey Kong movie. Like, we know that they let Swanky Kong into the Mario movie, but like, they didn't even let the Kremlings into Donkey Kong Country since when Donkey Kong Country Returns or Tropical Freeze came out, so I'm not really sure if we'll be allowed to have them in the Donkey Kong movie. If that's, I'm not sure if this would be something that you've already talked about by this point in the episode, but I'm very curious to hear what people think about it. Alright, thank you.
Well, thank you for the call, Ryan. I think, because you said you like the idea of the conversation. You didn't say you liked the conversation. You like the concept, not the execution.
On paper, it sounds all right. I don't know if I'd listen to it every week.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on my heels right now a little bit. We'll try to do your call justice so we can get you on board finally. So I think there's a misconception here that Nintendo had some sort of embargo on the Kremlings. And that was never really the case. The Kremlings appeared throughout the buyout era. They were in the Payon games. They appeared in stuff like, I mean, K. Rool was in Donkey Konga. Most people don't realize that. Mm-hmm. They appeared in stuff like Mario Power Tennis and the
Strikers.
The Kremlings were acknowledged, right? Like, it was only until we got to Donkey Kong Country Returns that they said, why don't we try something new? And I think a large part of that was not necessarily an edict from Nintendo. It was the suggestions from more certain people at Nintendo. It was never Miyamoto saying, I do not want the Kremlings ever seen again. You can only use this pre-approved list of Donkey Kong characters. It was, it was more like, well, Donkey Kong Country is your baby now, Retro. Why don't you do with it what you want? And why don't you try to come up with new concepts? Do we really need to have Kremlings in this just because it's Donkey Kong Country? And I can understand that philosophy. That is a very Nintendo philosophy to have. It's why you so seldom see other teams within Nintendo referencing stuff that other teams did. It's like, we'll just come up with something new. Super Mario Land was not the traditional Mario team, and so they came up with new enemies like Tatanga, or then Wario in the sequel. And, they didn't use Bowser or the Koopa Troop. And
nope.
So, and I think that's well intentioned, and I can see like the philosophy of why they did that, but what they weren't really anticipating is it's all well and good when you have multiple Mario games in development at any given time. There's never this concern that we'll just never see Bowser again. But when this is now the new home of Donkey Kong Country, what they didn't anticipate was, hey, there are Donkey Kong Country fans. There are legions of Donkey Kong. There's oodles of Donkey Kong diehards out there who love the Kremlings, who love Ingard the Swordfish and Squitter the Spider and Chunky and Swanky and the Brothers Bear and the Queen Banana Bird and the Banana Fairy Princess. And I think there were certain people working with Retro who maybe didn't believe that. They thought that people like the gameplay of Donkey Kong Country, or they might like the idea of Donkey Kong Country, but they're not invested in the concepts of Donkey Kong Country that are like the world building, right? We know, like, at a certain point, people at Retro wanted to bring K. Rool back. They wanted to do more, and they were, well, for various reasons, they were told no with the Tropical Freeze port to the Switch, but it was not necessarily an edict from Nintendo, but it was who was basically put in charge of managing Retro who was really pushing for that.
It's cool how they got to flex their creative muscles twice with making new characters, and I like the idea of Donkey Kong having a rogues gallery of villains. But yeah, the Kremlings, we all love the Kremlings, and it would be great to see them back in something, and I feel like we are going to see them in an eventual Donkey Kong movie, because at this point, Nintendo should know that everybody loves the Kremlings. They are the equivalent of the Koopa Troop. No, they're better than the Koopa Troop. What am I talking about?
Well, and that's the thing. Nintendo does know that now. We've talked about this on the conversation ad nauseum at this point, but the Smash Ballot was the eye-opener, and the Smash Ballot came at a really fortuitous time for Donkey Kong, because it was right when Retro had finished Tropical Freeze and released it and was basically moving on, and they were kind of shopping Donkey Kong around a little bit. For more on that, listen to our episode from a little bit more than a month ago, Donkey Kong The Lost Years, which shed some light on what was happening around this time. But the Smash Ballot showed Nintendo, oh, wow, people really like K. Rool, King K. Rool.
That guy, that green dude.
And they knew Donkey Kong Country was popular, but for whatever reason, they didn't think that Donkey Kong Country characters were popular beyond Donkey Kong and Diddy and Dixie and what have you. So the Smash ballot really came at the best possible time, because as they started making plans for Donkey Kong's future, as this Donkey Kong Freedom game fell through at Vicarious Visions, and they shifted development as we heard back in like 2018, they shifted development to Nintendo EPD. We haven't heard anything since then. So, who knows what's happened. I still think it's in development. I still think it's coming. I think everything that we've seen in the last year or two is building up to it. And I think we're kind of getting to that precipice now where it's like something's in the air. We can all taste it.
I can feel it calling in the air tonight.
You can hear it coming yet again. But, oh, shit, Phil Collins. Yeah, Phil Collins in the air tonight. That would be great for a Donkey Kong movie.
Ooh, I'd love that.
So, anyway, yeah, like there was never any edict that you can't use the Kremlins. I think that was overblown from the interviews that were given around the time of Donkey Kong Country Returns release. But now Nintendo knows, oh, wow, King K. Rool, popular. Donkey Kong characters, beloved. And I think you saw a little bit of that in this movie where who had so much prominent screen time? What, Chunky Kong?
Chunky Kong. Oh my god. Before Lanky Kong.
Who has not been really seen in a game since Donkey Kong 64. I know he was briefly seen in the GBA remake of DKC3. He was a spirit in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But he hasn't really been seen since 1999.
Yeah. You could have missed that entirely. Like those cameos.
So, I think, really, we should be feeling good. If you're a fan of anything Donkey Kong from 1994 on, or even before that, as seen recently with Pauline, you should be feeling good, because I feel like for the first time in over a decade, everything is on the table again. And I think that Miyamoto, in particular, he's getting up there. Like, he's not super old, all things considered, but he's older. He's kind of winding down a little bit. And I think he definitely wants to make sure, as one of his priorities before he retires, he wants to make sure Donkey Kong's legacy is secured. His original creation, he wants to make sure Donkey Kong is going to be taken care of long after he's gone. Mario, he doesn't have to worry about. But yeah. Donkey Kong has been homeless for over 20 years, essentially. Like, pit stops here and there, most notably at Retro Studios. But Donkey Kong needs a stable, permanent home again. And I think he's also realizing that, Donkey Kong was in good hands with Donkey Kong Country Onward. For all of this talk throughout the years that, Miyamoto hates Donkey Kong Country. He doesn't. He doesn't. There might have been some professional jealousy at the time, especially with Yoshi's Island, but I think that he recognizes and appreciates that Rare took his creation and made something so expansive with it. He loves Cranky Kong. I mean, he's been supportive of all of this stuff, and I think he appreciates that his creation, his original baby, has outpaced what he imagined for it. So we're gonna see all of this stuff. Like we've already seen Chunky and Swanky Kong. I mean, my God. Once you broach that, like, how are there any limits on the possibilities?
I never thought, like, 10 years ago, I would be seeing Chunky Kong on the big screen, much less Donkey Kong himself, but like, oh my goodness, it's like, if they'll do that for just a Mario movie, what are they going to do for a Donkey Kong movie?
Right.
I can't wait.
And, with their limitless ability to create generic Kongs for the Ring of Kong. They didn't need to have specific Kongs from the games in there.
Nope.
But they did. Like, they had this whole sequence with Swanky Kong blowing up and
dying. Well, no, he's alive, actually.
So I've heard whispers that he escaped.
Yes, if you look at I looked at some pirated footage online, and you can actually see him, like, he gets ejected out of the car, and he's, like, tumbling as the car explodes. But the car explodes, but you can see his body, like, keep going forward. So he did survive.
Well, it doesn't mean he survived. It just means he might have broken his neck. I mean,
he could have died from his injuries. Let's just... Okay, yeah. it's still up in the air, but he did not die in the explosion.
Okay.
We saw
Okay.
His body continued after that. He could be dead.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. All right, let's take our next one.
Okay.
Hello, Hyle and Malik. My question is, after seeing the Super Show theme of such prominence in the Mario movie, do you think any DKC cartoon references are possible for a potential DK movie? Even if Seth Rogen saying Banana Slam if nothing else. Thank you.
This is right up your alley, Malik.
Well, that's how the movie will actually open. Like, K. Rool will get, like, some artifact, and it's like, now no one can stop me. And then you hear, ooh, ha. And then you hear the DKC cartoon theme song start playing.
Here's the thing about the Donkey Kong Country cartoon. It's already been referenced in the games far more than the Super Show has ever been referenced in the games.
Oh, heck yeah.
It didn't take long at all for Rare to incorporate elements of it for Donkey Kong 64, from the crystal coconuts to Cranky being a chemist out of nowhere, and things like Tiny's design looking more evocative of Dixie's cartoon design. Then you had, like, Retro reference it with Banana Slamma, So I think that's just more virtue of there being more Western developers for Donkey Kong. And yeah, we'll incorporate little bits of it here or there. I think Rare wanted to sort of launder elements of it and recontextualize it to fit what they had going on. But with Retro is clearly more of a loving wink and a nod to it. And yeah, I think for sure, like, we saw the Super Show referenced quite a bit in this. We saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action movie from 1993, referenced in here or there. So yeah, you're gonna get a little nod here or there. Yeah. I don't know if you're gonna have, like, this all powerful crystal coconut MacGuffin, but I'm sure you'll get a Banana Slam in there or two.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Maybe you'll hear, like, a song from the show on, like, on a radio or something in the background.
Yeah.
Like, and Donkey Kong is like, oh, that was when I was going through a phase at that point in my life.
I've heard people wanting Bluster Kong in it, but I don't even know if Nintendo or Illumination would have the rights to Bluster Kong.
I don't know. I mean, whoever has the rights now, they're pretty much just gonna sit on it for forever, I guess. They can't really use Bluster.
No,
if Nintendo doesn't own it.
Like, it's just one of those confusing things. Like, can Nintendo really use Bluster? And they don't really use characters created for outside media anyway. Like, you didn't see, like, I very much doubt you'll see Yoshi's caveman friend in the Super Mario Brothers
good
movie
old
too.
Uktar.
Yeah, I very much doubt you'll get him in there.
That would be great. That would be a deep cut.
But yeah, we'll get cartoon references for sure. I think, like, just like the Super Mario Brothers movie referenced everything and anything Mario, you'll get the same with the Donkey Kong movie. It'll cast a wide net for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, there's a less wide of a net to cast, given there hasn't been that much in the way of Donkey Kong media. There's been the cartoon and, various appearances on things like Captain N. Maybe you won't get references to that, but you'll get the cartoon. You'll probably get more obvious references to the arcade game. Who knows? But yeah, and I'll be fine with it for sure. Like,
do you think they'll get Josh Wolf as like a cameo?
Oh
or something?
God, he should play a Kong. Like, he should play an original Kong. Absolutely,
that'd be great.
Or like get him in there as Chunky Kong or Lanky Kong or something.
I would love that.
I would just love a Kong dressed exactly like he was in the DKC Exposed video.
With the hair.
With the hair and the vest and just a 90s gnarly dude.
He'll say, guess what, folks? Guess what? They get paid. Like, he'll just say that at some point.
He could be a reporter or something, and...
Yeah. Reporter Kong. Or Hat Kong.
Mariner's Hat Kong, yeah. Thank you for the call. All right. Next call.
Yeah, I saw your tweet, and I would absolutely love to hear a little more discussion about Donkey Kong in the most recent Mario Brothers film. Specifically, all the different Kongs in the audience. It seems to me, I mean, it's possible that was just fan service, but building that many assets and that many references, I am curious to see if you think there's a chance they might be willing to do some kind of Donkey Kong spin-off or its own franchise or film of some kind, seeing as Donkey Kong is going to get its own expansion potential in the theme parks of Universal Studios, all the characters in the movie and all that. I don't know. I mean, obviously you guys know there's a lot of potential out there for a lot of ways to take a Donkey Kong universe in terms of film and media, but that's just my take. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think it's headed, if it'll still just be continuously connected to the Mario Brothers franchise or maybe branching out into its own thing. Thanks a bunch. Love what you guys do. Bye.
Well, thanks for the call. And yeah, I think we've already kind of covered this quite a bit in this episode.
That's not their fault.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just the order of the calls. Nobody knows what other people are calling in with, but yeah, I do. I absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the Donkey Kong movie's a certainty at this point, especially given like just ignoring how financially successful this movie is and how much it's not just financially successful, because like the Sonic movies were financially successful, but this is also a zeitgeist movie. This is a movie that is exciting people. This is a movie that's getting Saturday Night Live sketches about Funky Kong, who's not even really in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's reigniting interest in a lot of things, Mario and Donkey Kong. So with all of that, yeah, they're gonna milk it and they're gonna go MCU with it, and yeah, we're getting the Donkey Kong movie now. To like maybe expand on your point a little bit, which we've already touched upon the core part of it. I've heard whispers, not whispers. I've heard rumblings from the fandom that Chunky's prominence might foretell that Chunky will have a role in the upcoming Donkey Kong game, right? They wouldn't have had Chunky so prominent if Nintendo didn't have plans for Chunky, and I wouldn't go that far. I don't know how I feel about that. It wouldn't surprise me, let's just say, but I don't want to like put all my chips in on this bet here. I think what it does show is that Miyamoto did not object to them using Chunky Kong or Swanky Kong for that matter. And I think that what that might open up the possibility for is the Donkey Kong game really just giving a warm hug to everything. Like I think everything from the Rare era, everything from the Buyout era, be it Payon, be it Jungle Beat, and obviously the Retro era, the Returns era, and Tropical Freeze. Like we're going to have everything from Donkey Kong's history in play for the first time in over a decade. And that includes Chunky. That does include Chunky. And given his prominence in that, yeah, his assets are made. He could definitely show up in the Donkey Kong movie. And if he shows up in the Donkey Kong movie, then he'll show up in a future game again.
Mm-hmm.
With the way Nintendo does things, It's really what serves the game first and foremost. It's not just how many characters can we get in here. So there's always going to be that holding us back. But I think I feel good. I feel better than I have in a long, long time about the possibilities for everything related to Donkey Kong's cast or its history.
Yeah.
Like, I feel even better than I did after K. Rool was announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because then it was just like, oh, so we're getting K. Rool back, but I never thought Chunky and Swanky would be back in play. Honestly, I never really thought we would really see them again.
Like, when I like to imagine that when, to bring it back to Swanky again, I like to imagine that when he died in that fiery crash, Miyamoto had a big grin on his face. It's like, yeah, Swanky Kong.
Like, Miyamoto took everybody Illumination side. Maybe you should have him get ejected from the cart. Because, yeah, I know I said I wanted him dead, but I don't know. Maybe there's something we can do with him.
Some ambiguity there.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Maybe we could have like a Swanky Kong streaming series on Netflix or something.
Yeah, just leave the door open.
I guess it wouldn't be on Netflix. Where would Universal's content be? Would it be
I think it's called Peacock.
Would it be? It would be Peacock. Yeah. Put Swanky on Peacock. Swanky, he peacocks all over the place anyway, so just put him on the streaming service. All right,
Swanky streaming, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Something
no,
like
give him a game show. Give him like an animated game show. Let's go crazy with it. He has horrific burns, but he perseveres.
Builds character.
All right, we've got 2 more calls to take, Malik. So, and this next call, it's a lengthy one. They hit the 3-minute mark, so I don't even know if they got the full thing in or if they got cut off, but we'll play it nonetheless.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, first time, long time. And when I say long time, I mean like 2006. My name's Nick, but you may know me as DKRDS, but you probably don't. As I sit here in my office as a 28-year-old man wearing his Keep Barrel and Carry Kong shirt, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up how much I dug our King Kong in the Mario movie. So I saw it thrice. First time out, like immediately walking out of the movie, opening weekend, I was entirely underwhelmed. Storytelling was non-existent. We had like 0 Luigi. Breadcrumbs worth of lore. But one thing stood out, and it was just the enormous amount of amazing Donkey Kong content that we got out of it. I mean, Cranky Fred Armisen, I know you guys were not a huge fans of. I loved all things Cranky Kong in this movie, particularly when they land in his like temple and he drops the line, "By all means, come in." That is pristine Cranky right there, particularly to Mario and Peach. And just like DK being a showboating hunk, I nailing the character, like flexing, putting his tie on his bicep and flexing while singing the DK rap. That is to a T how I want my DK to be. I was super underwhelmed by the movie. I went with my girlfriend and she was like, yeah, it was okay, you know, like she liked it more than me. And then the next day, like right after the movie, we went to Super Nintendo World, which while I was underwhelmed by the movie, was overwhelmed by how awesome that was. And I can't wait for the Donkey Kong World. And if you haven't gone to Super Nintendo World, I recommend it because it is just an amazingly fun experience. And it made me feel better about the movie as I sat with it more. It just, from a screenwriting standpoint, it like sitting and watching it, you're like, what's going on and why is this happening? And another song. But then the following weekend, I saw it again. And with my expectations tempered and knowing what I was getting coming in, I appreciated the music more. I appreciated the buddiness between Mario and DK. Everything about it the second time around I thought was just way better. Just overall. And then the third time I saw it was 420, which was the best experience because I was celebrating. But yeah, for what it is, you gotta love it for what it is. It's a great Mario movie. DK doesn't need to be there.
And the call cuts off, but I think he got his point in.
Yeah, I've actually seen this dude earlier. He was wearing the Keep Barrel and Carry Kong shirt. You retweeted it.
I actually just retweeted him on the social media earlier tonight before we recorded. And Nick, you look great in it.
Yeah, it looks great on you.
First time I've seen that shirt in the wild, but I'm happy with it. Yeah, like I said, TeePublic, they do good work for us. Yeah, and I think, like, I felt better about it than you did initially, but I was still very underwhelmed with the screenplay itself. And that's me being a snobby screenwriter, failed screenwriter, to be fair. I mean, I got my Emmy and I got out, Malik. So
that's all you need, dude.
I'm like, you know what? I've accomplished what I set out to do. I won a major award. I'm a quarter of my way to my EGOT, so bye. Because honestly, like, I like to be my own boss. I think that at the end of the day, it's just easier for me to just do what I want. And what I want to do is talk about Donkey Kong all the livelong day.
Living the dream.
I am not bemoaning how my life turned out. Like, I quit it for a reason and left LA. And it sounds like you are in Southern California, though, since you went to Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, lucky.
I would like to go, but like I wanted to go to the one in Osaka or Orlando, just because that will have the Donkey Kong expansion, or I guess it won't be an expansion for the one in Orlando. It'll just open with Donkey Kong already in play. But yeah, like I said, Fred Armisen, that's grown on me. That take of Cranky Kong has grown on me. Once Bernie Sanders Kong sort of settled into my brain, I was like, all right, that's clever. That's a good contemporary take on Cranky. And yeah, like it's not my Cranky. It doesn't have to be my Cranky. It's a movie version of Cranky. Just like, if you're a big Lord of the Rings nerd, you might not like Peter Jackson's movies. Doesn't matter because you'll always have the books, right? Mm-hmm. And what the movies will do is get people interested in the books. Just like a comic book movie, I don't like Robert Pattinson as the Batman, but, I saw this movie and let me pick up a Batman comic.
It did its job.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fine. It is fine. And yeah, it was very underwhelming as far as, like, it annoys me that the movie was as short as it was because it needed to be longer. But you can't have it be too long because it's a kid's movie.
I mean, like the second Sonic movie was like 2 hours long. So when I heard that this movie was going to be 90 minutes, it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air because it seemed like most movies were getting into the 2 hour territory. But again, I left the movie saying, I wish there was a little bit more.
I think it was illuminating, no pun intended, to be in the theater full of kids. And I mean young kids who would normally see an Illumination movie opening day during spring break, because I don't have that perspective. Like, I'm still a kid at heart, obviously. I am still, like, part of me is perpetually 12 years old, that excited 12-year-old boy who just loves Donkey Kong. And I have a very giddy view of the world when I'm, my bipolar 2 isn't dragging me down into the depths of hell. But I don't remember really what it's like to be that young. Like, I remember feelings and I remember, like, what I like, but I don't really remember generally what it was like to be a child and to see how their attention spans were already faltering, like, near the end of the movie. People, like, they were getting restless. The crowd of juveniles was they were starting to chafe with the runtime, and I was like, so us adults, we were like, oh yeah, I could have used 30 more minutes, I could have used 45 more minutes. Like, it was too much in too short of a time. For the kids, it was probably too long. It's the catch-22 of the movie, right? Because I feel like if they could have shored up the plot by just cutting the Donkey Kong stuff out and expanding, stretching out the Mushroom Kingdom stuff. But at the same time, the Donkey Kong stuff was the best part of the movie, and it's why we at DK Vine are talking about the movie. So I don't really want them to cut that out. But from a screenwriting perspective, you can't have a 90-minute movie and have this huge diversion into Donkey Kong territory. And I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I'm glad it's there, but it made for a poorer movie. But it made for the best part of the movie. But as a screenwriter, it bugs me. But as a Donkey Kong fan, shut up.
That's exactly how I felt. And a little getting a little off topic here, but when you say spring break, I always find it weird. You Americans have like spring break for like 2 weeks. Up in Canada, it's called March break. It's 1 week. That's it. In the middle of March. That's all we get.
So here in the States, it's usually timed around Easter and Passover.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Now, like colleges, universities, they usually will have spring break earlier, like March. Sometimes they'll it depends on the institution whether they tie it closer to Easter. But yeah, for the K through 12, like grade schoolers, pre-college age, they usually get out the week before Easter.
That's so weird. So that's so interesting. Like all the cartoons I would watch when everyone would go on spring break, and I'm like, calm down, guys. You'll be back in a week. It's not that exciting, okay?
You know, as a Donkey Kong journalist, I don't get a spring break. Especially when you release a movie with Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong and Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong and Chunky Kong and Swanky Kong and kind of Funky Kong. During spring break, I don't get a spring break because I have to work extra hard. I tell you, I brought a notebook to the theater to write notes, and then it got dark and I couldn't see it.
Didn't see that coming.
But luckily, I retained all of the memory. But then I had to go home and write my review, which took hours because I was very thorough with it. And then I had to do a 4-hour podcast. And where's my spring break?
If it makes you feel any better, I've listened to that 4-hour podcast twice.
Wow.
Yeah,
8 hours.
It helps my Did You Know gaming work go by pretty smoothly, and then I look at the clock and I realize I haven't made it that far in the video. It's like, oh God.
No, well, Nick, you look great in a shirt. I'm glad you had fun at Super Nintendo World. You know, I'm glad that there's no Donkey Kong stuff at the one in California because I would have to go.
Yeah, me too.
And
I don't want a reason to leave.
At least with the actual Donkey Kong Park not opening for a little while longer, I can kick that can down the road just a little bit longer and not have to like. It's been nice not having E3 for the past several years because I don't have to like book this huge mid-year trip, like work trip, and worry about plane tickets and lodging and food and all of the stress of bringing my independent journalism, you know, across the continent. And I miss it, but it's just
at the same time you don't.
It's just easier to do it all from my office and just not worry about it. I'm a homebody at heart, so all right, Malik, we've got one more call to play out of the sack. And, you know, I'm sure we're going to be talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie more in the future on the conversation, but this will be it for now. We're going to go back into spoiler-free territory for a little bit. And, you know, who knows what content we can derive from it from the future, but I think this will put a nice capper on it, whatever the call may be.
Hey guys, this is Swanky Kong's #1 fan, Rick here. Just wanted to call in and give y'all my thoughts on the movie. My favorite scene was when Swanky Kong fucking died.
Oh, fantastic.
I think that was my favorite scene too.
It was my favorite scene.
The bad thing is I didn't even realize it was Swanky when I saw it. Did you realize that?
I was like, Dude, I think when I was watching it with my brother, we were kind of like in this whole euphoria mode. But I was like, dude, is that Swanky Kong? That couldn't have been Swanky Kong because he just died.
Yeah, like I've talked about my trailer fugue state. Whenever I see a trailer for something that I'm heavily invested in, it's hard for me to immediately retain and process the information because it's just the emotion, the surreal out of body experience. Like I've said before, when I saw the reveal trailer for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I could not process what I was seeing. It was like, did Donkey Kong fall out of a spaceship at the beginning? Are they on another planet? Or
jelly cubes?
Jelly cubes? Like the only thing I got out of it was Vikings, Dixie Kong. And everything else was just like, wait, is this for the Wii U? What, they didn't even say what it was for. When's it coming out? What's happening?
Freeze? It's called Freeze?
Like, I think the only time I really successfully retained the information from a trailer was the Banjo and Kazooie reveal for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because I was with 3 other people, and we were all just shouting it out to each other as we were seeing it.
Like,
and
that was a Jiggy.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
So that helped me actually having that, like, social group around me to yell back at me what I was seeing. I was like, okay, got it. There's bottles. Got it. You know? But, yeah, so the whole take on me sequence, like I said, I was just like, because like, you know it's coming. You know they're going to the Jungle Kingdom. We pretty much mapped out that whole part of the movie in our predictions. Like, we pretty much called almost everything that would happen. And all that being said, when they finally got there, I think what put me off balance was hearing that little bit of DK Island Swing, because I wasn't expecting it, and that was enough to make me emotionally charged. And then I was just like floating, like my soul had left my body, and I was just hovering over the theater full of children. And I was like, is everybody else getting this? Is everybody else getting this? We're about to see Donkey Kong. We're about to see Cranky Kong. And I was like, was that Swanky Kong? I don't know.
Did he just die in a fiery explosion?
Yeah, because, you know, the only thing I knew about Swanky Kong potentially being in this movie was we saw him in the Ring of Kong poster and, you know, asset artwork. So I wasn't even ready for Swanky Kong potentially.
Nope.
So
me neither.
I completely missed it, but in retrospect, yeah, that was my favorite scene. Rick, you're right. Because look, you can brace yourself for Donkey Kong in a Mario movie. You can even brace yourself for Cranky Kong. And yeah, maybe potentially Diddy, maybe potentially Dixie. But Swanky Kong is the most outside possibility for any Kong ever, in my opinion. When I saw the United States premiere of the Donkey Kong Country cartoon on the Fox Family Channel, when it premiered here in the States, I think it was in Canada before we got it, but we didn't know.
Yeah,
we didn't
was.
know.
Nope.
So I watched it was the premiere weekend of the Fox Family Channel, when the Family Channel was bought by 20th Century Fox and they rebranded it to Fox Family before they sold it to Disney and rebranded it as ABC Family. And then it became like Freeform or something. But I knew the Donkey Kong Country cartoon was going to be premiering that weekend. And so I kept it on because I wanted previews. I wanted commercials for it. I wanted to get any taste of it I could. And when they had the big, like, I think it was like 12 noon, that was when Fox Family Channel went live, right? When it premiered, and they had this big like montage of all their programming. We got a little bit of the Donkey Kong Country cartoon, and I saw what was Bluster Kong in that little bit, but I thought it could be Swanky Kong. And I was like, was that Swanky Kong? Was that Swanky Kong? Is Swanky Kong gonna be in the Donkey Kong Country cartoon? I think that really set my lifelong animosity towards Bluster Kong in play, because I thought he was going to be Swanky Kong, and it turns out he was just this original character who was not Swanky, and if anything was taking Swanky's role in the cartoon. So I vowed never to make that mistake again.
How would you have felt if Swanky Kong was if it was Bluster Kong who was driving the car and died in the movie?
Oh, I'd have been fine with that, but no. So when I see what I think might be Swanky Kong on the screen now, I never just go all in and say, oh my God, Swanky Kong's going to be in this. This is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, might be Swanky, but probably not. So I have that wall of cynicism still up when Swanky's seen. So I completely miss Swanky's cinematic debut because the hurt child in me kept me from enjoying it and embracing it.
Oh, but that's okay. We're all laughing about it now.
Yeah, and when I eventually rewatch it, when it's out on digital or when I buy the 4K Blu-ray combo pack or whatever, this steel book from Best Buy, whatever, if they have a Donkey Kong exclusive cover to it, I'm gonna get that. But
oh yeah,
when I rewatch it, I will be able to truly savor the swankiness of the fiery inferno that he might have survived. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, we braced ourselves for whatever. He didn't brace himself for that banana peel, but who could blame him?
I hope that the Donkey Kong movie does have a scene where he leaves intensive care. He leaves physical therapy after, years of hard work, and then he's, you could have this reoccurring bit where Swanky has grievous injury, bodily harm coming his way with every appearance. I hope that's not Swanky's whole thing. I don't want Swanky to be the Kong who just gets injured. But that's a reliable bit,
Calamity Kong,
yeah.
I call him.
I will open myself up to the magic of Swanky Kong when I rewatch it. Well, Malik, we've come to the end of the call sack. It is empty. I'm shaking it right now. There's nothing left inside. So I will throw it to the other side of the room, and I ask you for your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts on what, the calls or just
the movie? You're here for the Super Mario Brothers movie. I don't know when you'll be here again, especially talking about this one particular topic. So, yeah, what words of wisdom would you like to leave the Kongversation audience with?
Well, I would say if you haven't seen the movie yet, well, you shouldn't be here. But so I will say this movie it was so much more than I thought it was going to be as a Donkey Kong fan. I mean, I liked all the Mario stuff. I'm a Mario fan through and through, but I'm a bigger Donkey Kong fan. And there was so much in here that made me so darn happy to see it all on the big screen. And man, I can't wait to see what else is just down the pipeline for us, because it's going to be amazing. This has left me so. And I'm the optimistic guy, but I'm super optimistic for whatever is just beyond the horizon for Donkey Kong in movies and animation, and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, this. Obviously, of course, you might not know this about me, but I'm also a Donkey Kong guy. I prefer Donkey Kong over Mario.
What?
Yeah. Shock.
This is news to me.
But this movie had a weird effect, too, where I like Mario more now.
Oh, wow.
It rekindled the little version of Hyle pre-Donkey Kong Country who watched the Super Show and played Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario World and felt Super Mario Brothers 3 was weird and depressing because of the artifice of it being presented as a stage play, which I didn't really reconcile until I was older, and it was pointed out to me that's probably why I don't like it as much. But yeah, there's an old Mario fan in my bones, Malik, and I grew away from Mario because right after Donkey Kong Country came out and rocked my world, then Mario became the yippee hoo hoo whippy zippy woo bakala kind of guy, and I was just like, who is this? Who is this? This is my Mario. This is a weird stereotype from the Pizza Box.
Pasta Man.
Yeah, and that's not to knock Charles Martinet's performance. It's iconic, and it works in the context of the games, but it wasn't my Mario anymore. And I just felt this weird disconnect. These walls go up, and of course then my Donkey Kong fandom, my Hyper Rare fandom exasperated it, and I just was like, you know what? Mario tortured Cranky Kong. Screw him.
No one's talking about it.
It was like when you try to get over an ex and you just focus on their negative traits, right? And
I mean, I guess I can't speak from experience. So I'll just.
it's probably good. It's a lot of hurt you have to work through.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So I just feel weird that I'm feeling good about Mario too. And like, I'm feeling really weird and optimistic about the relationship between Mario and Donkey Kong going forward, where we're seeing this right now, because I haven't even talked about this on the conversation yet, but just this week, they've announced that the Lego Donkey Kong that's coming to the Super Mario Lego sets, we're also getting Lego Cranky Kong, we're getting Lego Diddy Kong, we're getting Lego Dixie Kong, and we're getting Lego Funky Kong. And there will be a dedicated conversation to all of this. You know, ordinarily I'd be like, oh no, they're adding all these Kongs to the Lego Super Mario set. This isn't good. But you look at how they're doing it, and they're making sure they still have unique Donkey Kong branding to it while still being part of the set. It's still its own thing, kind of. So
yeah,
if this is the way it's going to be with Mario and Donkey Kong's relationship, where Donkey Kong will occasionally play a part, but always kind of kept up on this pedestal where we acknowledge Donkey Kong's its own thing as well, but sometimes they can play together. You know what? I think that's a fair compromise, because they're always going to have that shared lineage, and you're going to have. I mean, there's been this interplay since Donkey Kong showed up in Mario Kart 64 in late 1996, early 1997. So I think it's a healthier way of looking at it than just releasing Donkey Kong stuff with full-on Super Mario branding. Now we're getting Donkey Kong stuff released, but the Donkey Kong logo's on there. And, you know, I think, like, this movie will certainly make people just view Donkey Kong as part of the Mario universe, like Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live, but he's an idiot, as I said. But then they're going to come to the games and recognize it is its own thing with its own identity. There's this shared heritage there, but they're not. One's not going to consume the other, and it just makes me feel good that we can basically take the success and popularity of Mario and use it for our own benefit. And
oh yeah,
So I'm all for that. Does that make me a hypocrite? Yup.
I don't care.
If it's gonna get me more stuff, I'm gonna buy a bunch of Lego. I'm gonna play with it on my floor like I'm 8 years old.
Now who's gonna stop me? You can't stop me.
No, all those kids with short attention spans in a theater. I'll make a 4-hour Donkey Kong movie with my Lego, and I'll be entertained.
Yeah.
And I'll have a better screenplay too.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.